Good evening, good evening, good evening again, folks. Welcome to another episode of Spilling Tea. I'm your host, Tiffany Daniels. We are going back to that horrible world known as the JRC, but before we do, the usual disclaimers and apology for my appearance, especially my hair. But in my defense, folks, I'm just frazzled, all right? I've got stuff everywhere. I just got stuff delivered for presents for people. I've got paper everywhere. My hair is like, I don't want to discuss it, especially this little piece here that keeps annoying the hell out of me. Ugh. All right, rant over. All right, folks, if you are unfamiliar with the Stop the Shocks campaign or with the troubled teen industry, you're going to find all the pertinent links along with the link to what we are reading now right there in the description box. Please take particular notice on the article written by NeuroClastic, a small non for profit started by Autistics for Autistics, where they interviewed and surveyed over 900 ABA professionals in regards to the JRC's so called behavior modification program. The Judge Rotenberg Educational Center does not want you to read that article so much they have threatened NeuroClastic with a defamation lawsuit if they did not remove it from the website. NeuroClastic has refused. Please read the article. Share it on all the social medias. Bleh. Also included NeuroClastic's public statement regards the defamation lawsuit threat, as well as a link to their GoFundMe. We are crowdfunding in case the JRC decides one day to see through with their threat. Trigger warning one, folks, when we discuss places like the Judge Rotenberg Educational Center and Agape Boarding School for Boys, you're going to hear vivid descriptions of and catch clips of surveillance footage of disabled people and people with mental health issues being tortured and abused. If you got young children present, please go ahead and utilize the headphones. Trigger warning two. This channel is marked not for kids for a reason. We use profanity on occasion and speak on dark subjects. If your child is 16 and younger and are watching my extremely amateur channel, please, folks, parental supervision, all right? Okay, so where we left off, again, this is the 2020 FDA decision. We're going back over it because I read all the preliminary stuff, but it looks like, unfortunately, I was incorrect on a few things. In particular, them using the term ESD, which is a broad term for all skin shock devices, as opposed to specifically mentioning the GED device, which is the one that's in question. And this is where we get in trouble. But let's go ahead and read, shall we? Although available data and information show that some individuals subject to ESDs exhibit an immediate interruption of targeted behavior, the available evidence has not been established a durable long-term conditioning effect or overall favorable benefit risk profile for the devices. Allow me to educate you idiots, all right? If you were to backhand someone as, please don't get mad at me for this term, I'm a 90s kid, like a redheaded stepchild, you might notice an immediate removal of whatever behavior they might have been having. However, there is a term for that, and it's called abuse. Okay? Fear and even an application of pain may stop a behavior. But we're hardly going around backhanding people who have self-injurious issues now, are we? And why is that? Because that's abuse. And where it may stop what you don't like for a few minutes, there's some other things that are going to be coming up in the future. Speaking as an individual who went through some horrific crap in my childhood, that rage builds and builds and builds, and eventually it's gonna explode. You may get an immediate outcome that seems favorable to you. But boy, the eventual reaction of having been abused because of behavior you don't like. Hell hath no fury. You know what I'm saying? The medical literature shows that ESDs present risks of a number of psychological harms, including depression, post traumatic stress disorder, anxiety, fear, panic, substitution of other negative behaviors, worsening of underlying symptoms, and learned helplessness, becoming unable and unwilling to respond in any way to ESD. And the devices present the physical risks of pain, skin burns, and tissue damage, all of which we all know can be applied to those who have been abused. Abuse survivors could read this right here and they can tell you exactly what's going on. It's very clear. When you have a device like the GED that brings up all of these things that we're talking about here, and remember, our receipts have receipts. You are looking at a situation very similar to other people who have survived abuse. All of these things it is mentioning here: depression, PTSD, anxiety, fear, panic, other negative behaviors that maybe they never even had before they started having. Forms of self medication, which could be self injurious behavior, believe it or not. Drinking, drugs, pills, worsening of underlying symptoms, because when you are treating someone with a disability through means of abuse, that means the underlying issues are being ignored. And you know what happens when you ignore them? Yeah, it doesn't take a genius, does it? So it makes it all very quite clear. But it also makes clear a very glaring problem, which is how those corrupt bastards on the DC Circuit Court probably got away with what they did. Because you did a broad term like ESDs, instead of specifically targeting the device in use at the JRC, that was how the DC Circuit Court was able to smack this down. The correction could have been immediate. It could have been fast and easy. All that would have had to be done is to resubmit the decision, taking out all the broad terminology and specifically targeting the GED. Folks, we are in 2023. It's been 2 years since the DC Circuit Court turned over the ban. It still hasn't been done. So, the FDA has a website with emails. So does, if you live in the United States, your representatives. What I would like you to do is to email, call, and even call them out publicly on social media to go back over their ban decision and properly name which device needs to be banned instead of trying to push through this overbroad nonsense. Let them know the reason why they failed. was because by trying to be too diplomatic and political, they shot themselves in the foot. They could have had this ban stay in place, I believe, I would hope. God knows it's a corrupt world and probably not, but the GED device itself should have been targeted. The SIBIS device should have never been even a part of this conversation, but the reason why it is the term that the FDA is using here, which opens it up for the DC Circuit Court to throw in the SIBIS machine and confuse literally everyone, including the judges themselves. We're going to go ahead and close on that, folks. We don't get very many views on this channel. The few that we do tend to get removed from time to time. So please, folks, don't forget to hit the like button, hit subscribe, and don't forget to hit those comments. I do appreciate your time tonight. And as always, folks, we here at Spilling Tea do hope you have a good one. I'll see you in a few minutes.